Tucker, in league with Audra, finally has Devon discuss Nate's betrayal. Those who are young and fidgety. This week on The Young and the Restless, Devon and Nate get their feelings hurt by chance, while Abby is concerned about Tucker's presence in her family. Lily admits to Audra that she is to blame. It's business as usual when Devon walks into the Chancellor Winter's office. He tells Lily that after confronting Nate, he tried going for a drive to calm himself, but it wasn't effective. It was Nate's unresolved love for Neil, he said, that ultimately led him to betray them. People are attempting to make sense of this. She believes that Nate's actions were unacceptable, but she recommends he conduct some introspective thinking to see whether or not the things Nate claimed about Neil were accurate. Devon has been certain that he does not want to talk about it. She tells him about her conversation with Jill when he sits down. She is upset by what she has learned about Nate, but she still wants to launch the IPO. Devon is concerned about the potential consequences and proposes they delay dealing with the business matter for the time being. However, instead of bringing the family closer together, this union has driven a wedge between them. He won't pin the blame on the merger. Nate is responsible for everything that went wrong, and he no longer cares about him. She is not pleading for his forgiveness of Nate, but she does want the family to be reconciled. When he left that door, it was mended, he claims. He says he won't discuss it more and goes on to clarify that he hasn't given up on the idea that Nate was in league with Tucker. Lily recognizes the anguish this causes him, but she also recognizes the necessity for caution if they are to mount a successful counterattack. Tucker follows Audra inside his GC8C suite. He tells her about how Nikki had Talia interrogate him. At the same time he pours her a drink, he tells her he went along with it to show that he has nothing to conceal. Since this debacle with Nate, they'll need a new strategy. Whether or not a hostile takeover is possible is something she thinks about. The word hostile bothers him. He has various values, such as the importance of family, which he upholds. That rules out everyone save him and Catherine's grandson as viable candidates for Chancellor's top job. He gets a call from Devon, who wants to set up a meeting at the Glam Club. Chance makes a dinner reservation with Noah at a club. Abby informs her husband how terrible the kitchen situation has been when he enters society. They were discussing grease traps when she noticed his outfit and flowers. In order to show her how much he cares, he wants to take her out on a date. Tomorrow he will be on a stakeout, so he needs to get it done today. She agrees to accompany Noah to the event grudgingly. She still needs to enjoy herself whenever she can. She jokes with him that the Chancellors will be going out tonight as she heads back to put out some fires. Noah observes Nate looking vacantly at a table by himself at the Glam Club. Despite his offer to listen, Nate has no interest in putting anyone through what he has to say. Noah invites you to sit down and shares his concerns, beginning with his ex-reappearance. Girlfriend's a piece of him wonders if he's being unjust to her and if people really can change. Nate claims their circumstances are different, and he just wants some peace and quiet to have a drink by himself. When Noah leaves, Nate pulls out his phone but decides against phoning Elena. A gallery owner offered Noah a show because she wanted to sleep with him, and while Noah stands in the corner, he remembers the argument he had with Audra about this. When Chance and Abby show up, Noah is there to welcome them. Even though he jokes about the early bird special, they insist on staying until it closes. They see Nate while they are settling in. Noah forewarns that today is not going to be a good one. Abby wants to know if she can find Allie. She was there earlier, he says, and she's okay. Abby wonders why Noah was tense, and her husband shifts the issue as he leaves to deal with some business. She enthusiastically assures him that this is a brilliant plan. They haven't been able to go out in public for quite some time. As they raise a glass to their newfound happiness, they share a passionate kiss. When she looks back, she sees Tucker entering and immediately becomes enraged. Her husband attempts to reassure her, but she refuses to let McCall near her or their children. As she's telling him about Devon's doubts about his dad, he unexpectedly walks in, and she gives him a big hug. Upon seeing Nate, Tucker observes that Devon seems uneasy in his surroundings. Before leaving, Nate confirms to Devon that his earlier claims concerning Neil were accurate. He'd be looking for fresh perspectives and ideas. When Devon hears the word Neil, he tells him to shut up. Abby and Chance become increasingly concerned as their fighting escalates. The officer chooses to intervene, telling the men that they are in the wrong location. Devon says he doesn't want to waste any more time on Nate. Angry, Nate walks out. When Chance gets home to his wife, she immediately blames Tucker for the argument. He thinks not and advises they go on having fun. And as she keeps her eye on Devon, he offers they make out in the art museum next door. A SMS from the office arrives, but he ignores it. He proposes they peruse the menu first before getting up. If she is distracted, he will check his phone repeatedly. Tucker, as he sits down with his kid, suspects that Nate was the company mole. Devon is unable to comment on this. His dad can see why he could think he's in on his cousin's plan. Nearly everyone in town views him with suspicion. Devon explains that because no one ever thinks he's the good person, he's able to act with greater freedom. Tucker says they may complement one another well. Having heard that, Devon invites him to meet Dominic this coming weekend. McCall cannot wait for that to happen. There is no obligation for him to tell his kid what is going on with Nate, he says. Devon has admitted that he was the one responsible for the company's dissolution. He just doesn't get how a family member could be so cruel. The Winters' share of the business he and Neil created together was something he figured would be more meaningful to Nate. Tucker tells Neil it's fine if they talk about Neil and wishes he could have been there when he lost him. Devon relied on Neil for almost everything. Although challenging, he has persevered. As far as Nate is concerned, no one can live up to Neil's legacy, which he finds to be utter nonsense. His father asks him to ponder whether or not that is true. As she waits for her order, Lily thinks back on Nate's confession and his excuse for his actions while sitting in Crimson Lights. She sees Audra and beckons to her. She expresses concern that the initial public offering may be postponed for the time being. Audra is certain that she is dealing with a challenging family situation and that her feelings about it are accurate. Lily feels guilty about telling Devon the truth about what's going on, so she avoids doing so. She was an advocate for both the merger and the decision to hire Nate. No one could have predicted that a member of their own family would become a threat to the business. As Audra warns her, she can't afford to put her faith in anyone. Instead of being wary of everyone, Lily has decided to be open and accepting. Devon has her whole confidence. That's admirable. But Audra learned today that men aren't always reliable. People's ugly selves are revealed when money and power are at stake. To get them through this, Lily really needs Neil to be there. Audra warns her against leaving just yet, noting that few businesses come to regret their initial public offering. The idea that a betrayal could take away her fame bothers her. Nate walks in on Audra sitting alone and thinks he's the last person she wants to see. He is concerned that she may try to attack him because of the damage he may have done to her business ambitions. She does not consider him an enemy and is not easily offended. Actually, I admire your originality, she says. He was taken aback by it. To her, a man who isn't afraid to try new things is an inspiration. As a result, you should try to pack as much excitement into your life as possible. She invites him to take a seat and then presses him for the scoop. Anything he says, he thinks she'll tell everyone. According to Nate, Devon's priority for his family prevented him from focusing on his work. His cousin doesn't have enough insight into himself to be able to answer the question truthfully. All he has to say is that